Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, Artem, and of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield, my co host of the show. Russ, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, RM. And how are you today?
I'm okay. Didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm kind of dealing with that. I'm awake, my eyes are open, but my body is like saying, "Go back to the crawl into bed, go to bed, rest, sleep."
Mm.
Fluffy pillows seem to be calling my name. What about you, Russ? Are you what's on your mind this week? Because certainly everybody has been talking about this new show where they at the last minute changed the time quite suddenly, like almost at a moment's notice. I didn't know they could do that. I guess they could do that at any
Mhm.
time. And that is of course the Ahsoka show, which many of us, I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me when the show comes out, but I didn't know they could switch it that quickly. But I guess they
I
can.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a streaming service. They can do pretty much. They can launch it whenever the hell they. It seems like an odd decision to take to change the time like that. It's Big Joe. Hey, Big Joe. Um, why would they do that? I don't know. But yeah, no, I finished off watching Warrior season 3 this week.
Ooh, nice.
Um, yeah, I have to say, I love Warrior. Like it can do no wrong in my eyes, put it that way. But it was a strange season. There were a lot of three. We don't know if this is the last season or not. Lots of plot threads were sort of started but didn't go anywhere. Lots of threads from the last season didn't were sort of what do you call it, hand waved. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, did you catch Ahsoka?
I did catch Ahsoka, Russ. I almost couldn't avoid it because it seems like it's maybe the one of the few shows that Disney is pushing after all of the Barbenheimer, let's say spectacular that's been going on.
Hmm.
I had no choice but to go ahead and catch the show, which has been highly anticipated and certainly one of the most. I'm not going to say she's a controversial character, but what I am going to say about Ahsoka is that she's a character that was introduced by Dave Filoni
Hmm.
and has won over a lot of people. She's very popular um, in the Star Wars franchise, and I can understand why she was popular. He did such a great job with this character in two series that he did. The first series was a series called The Clone Wars, which many of you may be familiar with. Um, and I have to say, The Clone Wars was an excellent animated series that even recently, Russ, just about a year or two ago, they had a season 7 for The Clone Wars that included Ahsoka Tano, and it was phenomenal. It
Mm.
was phenomenal. Just even about a year or two ago, we were lucky to even get an extra season. We were hoping to get this extra season, and the extra season tied in a certain part of Revenge of the Sith to it.
Hmm.
So it was phenomenal when you saw it. Everybody who saw it was amazed, and even I to this day am very happy that Filoni did this. So there was a great deal of expectation in regards to what this new series would be like, and rightfully so. Everybody wants it to be good. Everybody wants to enjoy the show and are expecting the same level, honestly, of what we got in at least, let's say, the Clone Wars. But also, Ahsoka Tano was featured in another series called Rebels,
Hmm.
and also, guys, I kind of like have this at the bottom, guys. Sunday brunch. We're not going to do Sunday brunch next week because well, it's a holiday weekend. So it'll come back on September 10th. I'm probably going to see if I can scroll this because it looks so formal that way.
I think maybe we should put up a spoiler warning. To be fair, if we're going to talk about
Yes.
the show.
Yeah, let me do that. Let me do that. And before we start to say hello to everybody, so I'm going to put Ahsoka spoilers too, so that everybody knows that we will be talking about spoilers. And to be honest with you, Russ, it's nothing major, is it? Like it didn't feel like there was anything major when it came to
I
these
was, I was just going to
spoilers.
say, like, if you've turned on YouTube, there are no spoilers with this show, particularly because Well, nothing's developed enough for there to be like, oh my God, you told us that this happened. Well, if you turn on YouTube, you'll know what's happened just by looking at the thumbnails that you've seen. But yeah, what was your? Sorry, I have to take this jumper off. Hold on.
Yes. And I do want to say hi to I didn't even do the greetings. Yeah. Woohoo! Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
It's just got a little bit warm. It's cold in this house, but it's now suddenly the sun's coming through and it's got all warm all of a sudden.
Well, Russ, it's getting hot in here. My God.
Hmm.
You're just taking the layers off.
Oh,
Hello
wait
to
till Christmas; it'll all be coming off.
hello to Joe Tyson. I didn't even say hello to everybody. Joe Tyson, hope you are well. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here. Says our very own Ahsoka and Ezra deliver the news
All
of
right,
the
gal.
oh my gosh. Bonzo Kilborn. Shanti. May peace and blessings be upon one and all. Well, the same to you, Bonzo.
Oh, it's really nice, Bonzo. Thanks.
You are doing well. Brogu is here. Brogu, hi, Brogu. You're so cute, and I love your brother Grogu too. Says hello, Arden. Hello, Russ. This is the way.
This is the way.
Dino Dinosaur is here. Says
Oh, all right,
afternoon,
don't I?
Russ and Tom. Yes, absolutely, Tom. And Tom, can you please? Oh, you did. You did it already. Thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson says, "Hey, hey, now it's a party."
Hmm.
Yes, Tom Jr. Jackson, guys, make sure you subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel right here. Guys, Tom and I are taking a little brief hiatus from YouTube. It's only maybe a few days or a week or so for me. Tom's resuming in September. We're coming back with our fall programming coming up. So next week, there is no Sunday brunch. Sorry, guys. There is no Sunday brunch next Sunday, but there will be a Sunday brunch on September 10th, which I have scrolling down at the bottom. So you guys know when Sunday brunch will be resuming going forward. But make sure you subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel, everybody. He says hello and welcome. We also have Mikey Lito. Mikey Lito, how are you?
Hey, Mikey.
How are you? What are you doing over the next 2 weeks? Mikey, hit me up. Let me know what's going on. It would be great to kind of see you over the next 2 weeks or so. Tom, I'm also going to try and hang out with you as well. But Mikey Lito, definitely hit me up especially if you're coming to the beach or if you're going to the city. Let me know. It'd be great to hang for a little while, Mikey Lito. Hope you're well. Thalia is here.
Hey, Thalia.
Says hello and happy Sunday, everyone. Everyone, she's got the coffee out. Ooh, Irene is here today, people. Irene Jobson is here. Says,
Hey,
good morning, gorgeous art. Good morning to you, gorgeous Irene. And Ryan.
hello, Eileen. Always good to see you.
And Tom Jr. Jackson also reminds us to check out Mikey Lito's channel. Also to check out Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington's channel. He also has a YouTube channel, so check that out as well. Oh my goodness gracious. I can't wait to start talking. Nathan is here. Hi, Nathan.
Hey, man.
Good to see you, Nathan. Good to see all of you here today. J and H Edits is here. Hi, J and H Edits. What a cool avatar.
I was just looking at it on my screen here.
Yeah, hope you are well, J&H Edits. Good to see you. Mighty Orbots. Mighty Orbots. Hey. Mighty Orbots starts off with something very interesting. Russ says, the current criticism about Ahsoka it vindicates me in having been right about this mess from the jump. Okay, fair enough.
We'll get into that in a bit, I think, Mighty Orbits.
And Retro Nerd Girl is here.
Oh, my resident crush. Hello, Retro.
Hello, Retro Nerd Girl. Always a pleasure to see you here, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl's channel. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
No, you won't. It's excellent.
And Rogue Thinker is here. Hello, Rogue Thinker. Hope you are well today. Good to see you guys. Here's Retro Nerd Girl's YouTube channel right here in the description. And guys, don't forget, Russ has an Amazon storefront for his Gladiatrix series. So please do check that out. His books are amazing. You're going to love it, guys. Please do check out the Amazon storefront.
You're too kind.
We also have Chef Nation here. Hello, Chef Nation. Says, good morning, beautiful people. Well, good morning to you, Chef Nation. Hope you are well. And you know something, Russ? As I mentioned to you a few minutes ago, the Ahsoka series, which has been had a lot of advertisement. Like this might be more than the Book of Boba Fett advertisement, and more than the Obi-Wan Kenobi advertisement. For
Hmm.
this was a huge advertising thing, and I told you, Russ, when I saw season 7 of the Clone Wars, I was blown away by how good it was. There were a few episodes that were a little fillerish, but the rest of it was spectacular. I mean, that was a great ending to the Clone Wars season 7. Maybe some of you have seen it. It's amazing. Ahsoka meets up with Anakin right before he's about to go crazy in Revenge of the Sith, and they have a conversation, and it's good. And they he gives her a lightsaber, and then she goes off with the clones, Hunter and all those guys, and he goes off and fights the battle of is it Geonosis, or one battle, which is the start of the Revenge of the Sith, where he's in battle with
Mm.
Obi-Wan, and then they kind of save the Emperor, who they don't know is the bad guy. So it is interesting. Yes, thank you, Chef Nation, who says, yes, the Clone Wars final season was epic.
With
And
that avatar, it'd be like, it was the most epic season ever. It's the greatest season. It was the close of any season. It was the greatest season. No doubt about it. The greatest season ever.
agreed with that, Russ. Absolutely. We enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed that season. It was phenomenal, Russ. And people were expecting the same kind of pickup, I guess, maybe, or um, delivery after that. After the Clone Wars was another series called Rebels, and
Hmm.
Rebels was equally good. Ahsoka had grown up. She was more mature in that one. She was fantastic in that series. And of course, that's the famous series, Russ, where you were always talking about the World Between Worlds, where
Mm.
we see Ezra does something remarkable in it. It's not a spoiler, guys. This thing came out ages ago. In the World Between Worlds, Ahsoka's about to get killed. She's about to get killed by Darth Vader. That's essentially what's happening. And somehow Ezra is able to intervene. When he goes into the World Between Worlds, he literally pulls her out of that time continuum. He literally lifts her body. He
Mm.
grabs her by her, like, let's say her
Her coattails.
outfit. Yeah, pulls her out, and all of a sudden she's not face to face with Anakin, who is now Darth Vader, who would have killed her. That's what I believe would have happened.
And I think all
And
of those conversations were really sort of like born of desperation. Is there some way that we can stop this catastrophe that a lot of fans of Star Wars think of the sequel trilogy? I'm agnostic on whether you love them or whether you hated them is entirely up to you. And if you love them, brilliant, more power to you. But I think more people didn't like them than liked them within the fan community. Let me just put it that way. And I think that War Between Worlds was kind of like your get out of jail free cards to say, okay, well, actually that didn't happen. That's an alternate timeline. But now, because of this series and we've done this, the possibilities are open. And I think that was the hope that everybody was clinging on to for a number of years. But um, unless Disney is bought out by Apple, which seems to be a clear and present fact at the moment, given the dreadful financial state that Disney finds itself in, that isn't going to happen. I think anybody that's and I'm not I love Star Wars, but I'm not a huge Star Wars nerd. I haven't read all of the EU. I couldn't quote you. I certainly haven't seen the Clone Wars or Rebels, which I think is important for our upcoming conversation. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, but I think the watchword is with Disney, all roads do lead to the sequels. It doesn't matter how awesome that Luke Skywalker cameo was at the end of Mandalorian season 4. It doesn't matter what happens in Dave Filoni's, because he's obviously building up to this movie that he's making, that the final fight against Thrawn and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter. Ultimately, as long as Disney own this, they are not going to say, "Look, we made a dreadful mistake and we acknowledge it and we're going to fix it." They're never going to do that. So that was the forlorn hope, if you like, the What Between Worlds. But anyway, carry on.
no, that's perfect. And this is something that a lot of people have been talking about. It's gotten a huge amount of comments on YouTube. there's thousands of videos where people are talking about this, thousands upon thousands. So this was a big topic, and it certainly opened up a lot of different doors. And I think one of the things that always scared me, and probably some of you who are watching this, who watched the World Between Worlds episode, one of the things that scared me the most about that episode was not Darth Vader, but it was the Emperor himself who shows up.
Mm.
And that always terrified me. And I suddenly started to realize that the Emperor was like, he was always watching what was going on. That's when it suddenly hit me. Not before, not after watching episodes 1 through whatever. It was in the World Between Worlds that I realized that the Emperor, and the Clone Wars, that the Emperor was always ever present and watching what was going on. And I didn't realize, I didn't understand that about Star Wars until that episode where he pops up, and Ezra and Ahsoka are like, yeah, we better get the hell out of here. I don't want to confront Darth Vader was bad enough, but I really don't want to confront the Emperor in this situation. And and they make a run for it, but it was terrifying, Russ. And I wasn't expecting an escape plan, an escape hatch to still be terrifying. They were running for their lives. It was spectacular. And, let's say, regardless of where the World Between Worlds whether it'll ever be used again, it was an effective tool because it really created this animosity and tension that I thought would have been done with, that you were fine. It's not. It was terrifying. It was horrifying. And after all those years of watching this Star Wars, for me to understand what it actually meant, I got an understanding of what it meant for someone who was that powerful in the Force to be watching what was going on.
Well, I
There hasn't
think this
been
is
anything else
this is
like
the
that.
sorry.
There hasn't been any other show that did that.
No, and this was the thing about which I haven't seen, but I haven't seen the show, but I know the lore. If that makes it a bit like Warhammer. Like I don't play Warhammer and I don't understand the rules, but I do. I've started to watch the lore and I understand a fair bit about it. And I'm the same with Clone Wars, and I think that where what the big strength of that show, which is what a lot of Star Wars fans have been crying out for. And again, everybody's split on Dave Filoni. Some people think he's the second coming of George Lucas, and some people think he's a Pennsylvanian Texas hat wearing hack that shouldn't be anywhere near the properties. I understand that, but from what I do understand of the Clone Wars, is they were very very well received amongst the vast majority of the fandom, and given Dave Filoni's encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars and the lore, the what he plays into in the Clone Wars, and I guess to an extent in Rebels, or to a greater extent in Rebels, is that he's able to mine that lore and extrapolate new story ideas and filler, not filler in the sense, oh, it's just crap filler, but how you can really sort of broaden the backstories of all these characters through the mechanism of episodic TV animation in this case, but still episodic TV, where you can really fill out these character arcs and you get to know these people much better. Everybody accepts that the Anakin Skywalker arc, from Annie to Vader, ultimately it was really really helped by Clone Wars and Rebels. Like, he actually understood why he made. I mean, we understand in the films, but it's much deeper in the episodic TV. You really get a handle on it. So for that, to that extent, yeah, all good stuff, which I imagine was the hope of many people coming into Ahsoka, that this would be the greatest Star Wars show ever, because now finally, you've got your Disney version of Zack Snyder coming in to do this. Some people love him, some people hate him, but at least he's a purist and he understands Star Wars and he's going to do something cool with it. So on that, and we just have to acknowledge what Mikey Leto says here. He says, speaking for newbies by myself, it would have been nice if we were advised which shows to watch before Ahsoka. Well, I don't know, Mikey. I saw 11 billion things on my YouTube going, watch this. All you need to know before you watch the Ahsoka show. There was plenty of potted histories out there, but I guess the answer is you have to watch Rebels or Clone Wars, then Rebels to really get it. But what were your impressions of the show?
I'm going to give you my impressions of the show in a second. I do want to read a few more of these comments, Russ, and you're right. Yeah, Mike Lito, had I known you didn't know, I thought you would watch them. I would have definitely told you which ones to watch. You don't have to watch all the Clone Wars or Rebels to understand what's going on with Ahsoka, so you don't have to. But I'll send you something. And Rogue Thinker says, I hear that Ahsoka dying at the hands of Vader would have been the perfect conclusion to her story and a great step in Vader's journey. It would have been unbelievable because she essentially saved Ezra, let's say,
Mm,
for
mm.
the sake of, Ezra confronts Vader, he's not ready for this. She steps in, she martyrs herself for him. That would have been unbelievable too. And for all practical purposes, she was willing to die for Ezra. So let's put it that way. And Michaelita says, no way, Apple buys Disney. I
Why
think
not?
it's interesting when you think about that notion, only because of who owns how much of Disney. Look at who owns a lot of Disney. Excuse me, Apple. Pardon me. Look at who owns a lot of Apple right now. It's very funny to see who some of the major
Why?
owners are.
What are you driving at? I don't understand that.
I believe, aren't there some studio people, some movie makers who own a lot of Apple?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know the background, but I do know that rumors have been swirling around this. And I'm not going to say there's no smoke without fire, but it's similar to the Warner Brothers thing. You keep hearing Universal Warner Brothers, Universal Warner. It's never anybody else. It's not like Amazon or even Disney. It's those two companies seem to be linked in this sort of potential takeover, and the same with Apple. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up. Is I've heard it from multiple sources, Mikey. So I'm not saying no smoke without fire, but if a thing was to happen, it would most likely be Apple. And I was watching the one thing, and the one guy was saying, the net worth or the worth of Apple is it literally dwarfs the likes of Lucasfilm and Disney and Warner Brothers and all that sort of thing. So it's a bit like Amazon in that regard. It's a tech company first and foremost that's worth billions and billions upon billions of dollars, and these entertainment things are really sort of like pocket change for them, and they can actually afford to buy it out. The question is why and what would Apple do with it? Okay, would they bring it all onto Apple TV? That wouldn't seem like to be the smartest move. But then again, maybe it would be if they were promising an increase in quality and all that. So I don't know, but that's what I've heard. So I don't think it's a no way, Mikey. I think it's a possibility. Um, but it's the internet, isn't it? It's full of content. Whether that content has any basis in actual fact remains to be seen.
And Nathan says, Dave Filoni said the temple that led to the world between the worlds was destroyed, so they can't go back. Oh, that's interesting, Nathan. Thank you, Nathan, for letting us know it's gone.
It's an
Um,
interesting fact, Nathan. But whatever Dave Filoni has said, um, well, has that happened in any medium? And even if it had happened in medium, visual live action medium trumps everything, does it not? So I think if they want to bring it back, they can do. But it's a good point, and I imagine that yeah, he would have come out and said that. But really, if they want to bring it back and they bring it back in a live show, then that means that everything that was written about it beforehand, yeah, in AU or novels or comics or whatever, will be superseded by those decisions.
and Brogu says, "Can we get a Darth Vader show? Who's with me? I'm totally with you." And I think it should be based on the comics that Nathan's talking about. Nathan, I didn't read the comics. However, there's some really great people who dramatize the comics online in YouTube.
I
And
was there. I read the comics on the plane, or most of them on a plane. It's really good. I would say who said that? Was it Bonzo said make a Vader
It
show?
was Grogu,
Oh,
and
Grogu.
Grogu, I watched the dramatization. They dramatized the comics online and YouTube. So I didn't read it, but I watched a dramatization of it, and it's fantastic. I love that Vader run.
Mm. I I don't know, man. Like the idea of a Vader show is brilliant, but then so is the idea of an Obi-Wan show, and look how that turned out. So yeah, potentially brilliant, but these things have to be done right, and these Disney TV shows or these Disney Star Wars TV shows, more often than not, now we can say, especially in the current era, just aren't really delivering the quality in terms of writing, and Disney Star Wars has fallen into its own self-made trap that I think when we start to talk about the meat of the show, we'll probably touch on.
Absolutely. And hello, Death Plato. How are you guys? Remember, I do a historical movie show with Darth Plato every week on the channel where we are looking at pretty much historical movies. And we're going to be talking about historical movie kind of renaissance, if you will. Russ, you and I have talked about this before as well. Darth Plato and I are going to be reviewing the new Napoleon movie
Mm.
coming up soon, guys. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And we also have Stubble McShave. Hi, Stubble. How
Hey,
are you?
Stubble.
Stubble and I just reviewed the Wheel of Time on the channel, season one. We're going to be looking at the Wheel of Time season two, which we anticipate will be even better, we hope, coming up. Stubble, it's such a pleasure to see you. Now, I want to talk about what I thought of the series because you did ask me this, Russ. We're already 25 minutes into the show. Mikey Lito says, I'm sure a lot of people loved Ahsoka. It was pew pew, flash, flash, Star Wars. Who? Well, the first three things that I want to say about the show is that I was I was surprised to find out now that Elspeth was a Night Sister. And I was happy that she is a Night Sister. This is something that I was wondering, why is Elspeth so special? What is it about her that she survived? She seemed to get away rather easily, and I questioned the crew who were holding her prisoner because I almost felt like when you got to see the beginning of the episode, they were hanging around and it was like it was space 1999 on the deck of this ship. And if whoever knocked at the door, it was like, knock, knock, who's there? And, you could have said Orville Redenbacher, and they would have been like, Orville Redenbacher, who? Oh, we're just here, Orville Redenbacher, to say hello. And they would have opened up the door, no questions asked. They were like the most laid back prison ship, very different in contrast to what we saw from The Mandalorian in season 1 or 2,
Hmm.
where that prison ship, you couldn't even get into that thing. And this one, all you had to do was to knock on the door, say your name, and it's almost as if your name didn't matter. If somebody had said Jedi code, I would have gone to straight red alert, been like, we can't let these guys in. This is serious. And then even when they do see the two force users come in, I mean, honestly, Russ, Ray Stevenson looked like something was going down. Like it looked like something was going down when you saw him. He looked
He was
so
excellent.
he looked so incredible. His outfit was phenomenal. He looks hot, and of course, as you guys know, unfortunately, Ray Stevenson has unfortunately passed away fairly recently. Is absolutely terrible that the
Mm.
star in the show um is gone because he just I gotta say, Russ, when he walked onto the screen, it was like it was a completely different thing altogether. He really dominated that particular scene, and I think along with his protege, his Padawan, who we don't really know much about, um, he was a force to be reckoned with. Boy, he was strong. Russ, he might be one of the strongest force users I've seen in years. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he was a really good addition to the lore. Him and his young apprentice. I thought they were great. Um, Sadly, there wasn't a lot of them in the show, but I thought they were really, really, really good, and you kind of want to find out more about them. Um, so, would you like me to go, or have you got more to say?
No, go ahead. I want to hear more of what you want to say. There's no order.
Okie doke. So, what I loved about Ahsoka um, is something that I cannot truly appreciate, but I love that they did this. This clearly is a show for fans, right? They've gone in there, and if you don't know Ahsoka, as Mikey was saying, you don't know the background to this. There's enough in that show to sort of let you glean what the background is and where all these people have come from. But you, as a Clone Wars slash Rebels fan or viewer or someone who's familiar with those shows, you're going to get a lot out of this. I mean, it was like really obvious stuff in there, like the little painting of all of the characters done in the same style as the animated show. You had, oh, excuse me, you had Sabine Wren's apartment, and it's got all of the stormtrooper helmets in there. And these are the things that even I noticed as an acolyte, if you like. I'm sure initiates and Jedi's and what have you of lore will have spotted a ton of stuff in there that was put in there especially for them. And if you don't know it, you haven't missed anything. But if you know it, then it's a bit like the, in Man of Steel, with the Wayne text satellite. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. And but if you know, it's like, oh, squee, or the LexCorp trap, and it's the same kind of thing with that. This show was mid. I think everything about it was mid, and I was really disappointed because I really wanted this. I really wanted it to be what everybody wanted it to be. I really wanted it. And look, we're only two episodes in. Maybe it's gonna improve. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. But I really wanted it to be kind of like, I wanted this show to have the reaction that Mando had when he first came out, and everyone was just so happy to have like mid-tier Star Wars that didn't divide the fan base and didn't make everybody hate each other and hate the show and hate everything that had been done with it, or love everything beyond all question of a doubt. And if you didn't love it, you were not a Star Wars fan. Mando season one, especially the end of season two, they really accomplished that, and that was really, really good. And I rather feel that this is the same. There's nothing overtly offensive in this show so far that I could, for the fandom. What I When I was saying earlier on about this sort of inflicted Disney trap that they've now found themselves in, this is the problem with the Disney girl boss, and that the Disney girl boss can't do anything. It's, I think we were talking yesterday. It's kind of like Schrodinger's girl boss, in that she's absolutely oppressed by the terrible patriarchy, but yet is awesome and can defeat everybody. And that's kind of what we had going on here with Sabine Wren. This was particularly egregious to me as a viewer, because I understand that you've watched Sabine do all these amazing things through, what is it, 8 seasons of animated shows, or however many shows it was, right? And she's awesome and she's cool, and we understand her character, and you get all of that. But if you're like Mikey Lee, or if you're like me and you haven't watched those shows, you don't know who this person is. So we're introduced to a character, and you got old Clancy Brown there, and tens of thousands of people, however many people that were there, turned up to this big sort of celebration, for this one person who was a hero of the rebellion, but she's too cool for school. She just can't be bothered to turn up to that sort of thing. Now, that's what did my friend MJ said to me. She said that's the kind of, if I wanted to make a cool girl boss, that's the kind of stuff I'd be writing when I was 12 years old. Like, even if you take yourself out of it for a minute. So Clancy Brown there would have had to have organized this whole thing, got all the dignitaries and all the senators together, put the word out for the people to come and celebrate this thing. At some point, he would have said to Sabine, look, listen, we're having this thing on the 12th of July, about the rebellion and all that. We'd like you to come along and say a few words. Would you mind? And Sabine Wren could have turned around at any point and go, you know what, Clancy Brown, I don't fancy it. I'm not going to do it. Enjoy your celebration. But she didn't. So you've got this, bratty little bitch character now that is just too cool for school and won't turn up for the thing. And we're supposed to laud that. Whereas I was thinking, no, this is, well, what the hell? What the hell are you doing? And then we follow this character through her particular journey, and she goes onto the ship with Ahsoka, who's now found the because here we are once again in Star Wars, finding a map to find the guy that doesn't want to be found. That is a plot line they keep using and using and using, whatever. And Ahsoka says to her, look, man, don't take this map thing off the ship, all right? What Ahsoka should have said was, don't take this map thing off the ship, because I was attacked by a bunch of killer droids, and if they obviously tracking this thing and it's safer on here. She doesn't say any of that. But what does Sabine Wren do? As soon as the Jedi's back is turned, she goes off because she's too cool for school, and she's going to go and do her own thing, just like the girl boss that she is. And so she goes off, and what happens? The killer robots come and they find her, and she's able to fight killer robots unarmed, which is ludicrous. Why? I was saying to our yesterday, That whole scene of her elbowing robots and punching them in the face and all that, it's like me having a fight with my car. Like I can go outside and kick my car and punch my car and dent the door and all that. The car's not going to give a shit, is it? If the car's a killer car, it's just going to run me over. Ludicrous. Then we get a lightsaber fight between Sabine Wren and the Sith apprentice, whose name I have forgotten. I apologize. If you look at the characters' faces, and they're showing no emotion. There's one bit when the Sith apprentice is bearing down, or with her lightsaber, and the other, and Sabine Wren's fighting, and her expression is completely blank. And the choreography was not good. It was all very kind of slow. It was almost like a theater production as opposed to again, I'm always reminded of like Attack of the Clones, or not Attack of the Clones, the first one, Phantom Menace, and the third one, with the lightsaber fights, which is just awesome. But in this one, they just sort of, given it's almost like a return to the Empire Strikes Back days of lightsaber fighting, and that goes for all of the fights, although there was plenty of them. And then what happens is Sabine Wren gets stabbed through the stomach, and we all know now that getting stabbed through the stomach with a lightsaber is only fatal if you're male, because if you're female, it doesn't work. Because unless you're Cal Kestis, and then you're saved. But basically, Qui-Gon Jinn or Darth Maul, lightsabers kill you, but not if you're part of the Force is female. But the most egregious thing about all of that was Sabine Wren realizes in her hospital bed as she's recovering, she's actually been a bit of a dick here. And what's the general's name? General, the green, the Twi'lek.
Oh, Hera.
Yeah, Hera. So Hera then comes into the room, and this is the Disney problem, right? And here it is, right here, and it's almost like Dave Filoni is aware that it's a problem, but he's not allowed to do anything about it because Sabine Wren's there, sat in her bed, going, "Do you know what? I really screwed up." And Hera says, "No, you're awesome. You're amazing. Ahsoka loves you. I love you. We all love you. The world loves you. No, bitch, no. You made a terrible, terrible call because now, because of you, we have lost any way of being able to track the thing that we need to track to get the guy back that we don't want to get, that we want to get back. It's on you." And what is her comeuppance? And what are the consequences of that action? Oh, no, you're back as my Padawan. There's no stakes. There's no stakes. She can get killed, but it doesn't matter because she's a girl boss. She can make bad calls. It doesn't matter because she's a girl boss. And that is a problem that is endemic with all of Disney. And I don't want to bash on Disney. This show was not bad. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't shit in the way that Obi-Wan and Boba Fett were just garbage. But it's even like the motivation. Aram and I were talking about this yesterday, and I don't know the lore, but she's got the hologram of Ezra Bridger, and she's looking at it, and then we find out, oh, you're like a sister to me, and I wish they hadn't said that. I was saying to Aram, and Aram, said to me, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. What if she was in love with Ezra? What if this was a torch she had been carrying for years, and she was willing to go to another galaxy to win back the man that she loves? Because if Ezra loved her as much as she loved him, she knows in her heart of hearts, in her heart, that he needs her. He would not be in another galaxy far, far away. If he could get to her, he would. And she is going to break down the walls to get to the man that she loves. Now, love is a powerful motivation. But because she's a Disney girl boss, there's absolutely no way she would be willing to sacrifice herself for a man. And it's this, yeah, there you go. Darth Plagueis just says it. I need no man. Right. Exactly. And it's these kind of choices that they've made as an organization, the way that they form their narratives, they end up running into these holes of unlikable character. What is there to recommend Sabine Wren as a character if you've not seen the stuff in the run up to it? I accept she's brilliant. I know how loved that character is. I'm just saying, from what I saw, she's an entitled little bitch. She deserved everything that happened to her, and yet doesn't get punished, gets rewarded for, fails upwards, which is something that people criticize Disney for as a whole. oh god, it was really disappointing in that regard. The choreography of the lightsaber fights, if you look at them in clips, they look really good, but if you actually look at them as a part of their whole, they're really slow and clunky, and I didn't enjoy it. But for all of that said, all of that, it was okay. It looked like Star Wars. It even felt a little bit like Star Wars. And I appreciated that they were painting in this rich tapestry of Easter eggs and background nods and winks and cap tilts and all of that. For the fans that love it, all of that stuff is good. But ultimately, if your narrative is pants and your characters are pants, you can have all of the nods and winks and Easter eggs that you want. But if those things aren't there, then the show is going to be at best mid. So for me, it was very, very mid. But I'm not going to hate on it. But those were my thoughts of the show.
And that is quite a lot. And I agree with me. I would say probably 99.9% of what you said, Russ. There's some things I want to add to that
Hmm.
about the show. And as I said, the first thing that I was very surprised with that I felt that should have been disclosed, maybe even earlier, was the fact that Elspeth is a Night Sister.
Mm.
And a Night Sister, as we all know, or maybe some of you don't know, because Night Sisters were introduced during the Clone Wars. It's not anything that's explored in the lore before that. They are Force users where, the Force is their religion and they look at the Force very differently. And there are other Force users who although maybe they use the dark side of the Force, I don't really consider them bad guys. So it is very interesting. I feel like there's a kind of a mixture of people who are kind of in this in between situation where the use of the Force, they're using it, but it's maybe not for the same intentions that other people are using the Force. They grew up with the Force. Their whole existence is focused around the use of the Force. And Night Sisters are very different, and Elspeth is one of them. So she's a Force user. She comes from that group of people who know how to navigate the galaxy and do all sorts of extraordinary things that nobody else knows how to do. And the only time I've ever really even seen a Night Sister in for more than the episodes in the Clone Wars are in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, the two video games where we do see a Night Sister who is very different. She's very different from the other Force users. So her abilities are remarkable. And I did want to mention that we don't fully understand everything about them. So we don't really have all the information about Elspeth other than that she's a Night Sister. Ahsoka might be the only person who really understands everything about her. And also she's played by Asante, who is the niece or the goddaughter of Bruce Lee. She's an incredibly well-talented and trained martial artist. And I really want to see her abilities in this because she's probably one of the best fighters, stuntswomen, whatever you want to call her, out there. And I got excited when she was cast in this role because I thought, wow, they're really going hardcore on this. They're hiring women who are incredibly talented athletes and performers. This is going to be amazing. The same for the woman who plays Sabine Wren, Natasha Boriso Liu. I know I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but she's also a talented martial artist. And the first time I saw her was a follow-up film to Couching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I think it's called The Sword of Destiny or something like that. She was amazing in that. She's also incredibly talented. And I'm expecting to see more things from her and from Asanto that's going to blow my mind. But didn't like the friend zone of this. And maybe I am reading too much into it right now. Maybe this was a message that was sent and it was a neutral message. And at the time, he didn't know how he felt about her. But goodness gracious, she's hanging out in his room, pining over him. She loves this man. She's in love with him. I don't think it's brother and sister. Let me tell you something. I've seen people who have. I just It just feels like she feels more for him than this. And in Rebels, it felt like something else was going on. They had some sparks flying there. I don't like the friend zone. I hope that friend zone is done. I hope when they see each other, it's a real love story because you're right, Russ, that would drive this story so remarkably intensely where she would actually do anything. I'd like Sabine to go batshit crazy over this and do all sorts of fucked up shit to find him. And she doesn't care. She doesn't care what happens to the rest of these assholes.
Right. Well, this is my
Find the
point.
guy
I think
she
we
wants. Screw Ahsoka, screw everybody else. She'll even betray everybody to get him back.
right. We spoke about this yesterday, didn't we? If if we frame this as a love story, it's kind of like everything's forgiven because people who are in love make terribly poor decisions to get the affection of the person that they love. So if in this instance, if we know that she's madly in love with Ezra and Ezra's madly in love with her, she nicks the MacGuffin. She goes and she steals it. Well, we kind of understand why. Now we're kind of like, well, okay, all right, well, fair enough. You know, she really wants this guy back, and she doesn't want Ahsoka to know this or know that, or she's just so determined to do it, and she's got all of her kit back at her flat and whatever. If they could just drop the girl power, frankly, as a guy that's written lots of screenplays with strong female leads and books with strong female leads, the trope is so old now and so hackneyed and so tired because none of these people have flaws even. But being in love with someone is not a flaw, but it's almost like they can't have any. They would, the people that write this stuff and the producers that give the people who write this stuff their instructions, well, love for a man is weakness, and we can't have a woman being in love with a man so much though that she will go to the ends of the universe for this man. No, because that just basically means she's serving the patriarchy or whatever bullshit that these people believe in. I don't know, but it's such a shame because the power of love, you know, that's like one of the things that films and books and everything have been written about since the beginning of time. The power of love, and I'll go with you on this journey, Sabine. Other thing we spoke about, which I thought, and it was our room that came up with this, and do you know what? This would have been awesome. When the Sith apprentice stabs Sabine, kill her. That would have set the internet on fire for a start. And then it also opens up a whole load of possibilities for Ahsoka, who we've hardly mentioned, right? And that's not a good thing. Now, Rosario Dawson is a fantastic actress, and can do anything. And you could look at her all day. It's like gazing at the sun, right? She's just so perfect and so beautiful. And it was not me coming up with this actually, but I did think it. But I think it was the drinker in his review of this particular show just said it very, very succinctly. The whole idea that these producers vis-a-vis the writers have of strong is stoic and neutral and unflappable. The problem with that is that they're all the same. So you could literally have put Bo-Katan standing there with her arms folded like Ahsoka is there, and it wouldn't have made any difference because they're the same character. They're stoic. They take it all in stride. They pause before they answer to give it more gravitas. They do all of that stuff. How cool would it have been if Sabine Wren had been killed by the Sith apprentice, and then you've got all of this stuff? What do we actually know about Ahsoka in the time between Rebels and this? How close is she to the dark side? Now, this would motivate her to go on a mission to punish the people that have killed Sabine Wren. But how close is that to the dark side? Are you going to go and bring these people to justice, or are you going out there to murder them for murdering somebody that you? And it opens up a different narrative arc. But did they do it? No, of course they didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? Because everyone's a girl boss, and everyone's a girl boss, and they can't be hurt, and they're stoic, and they can't be killed, and it doesn't matter how much they mess up. It's never their fault, and that is the problem with the all of these shows, if you like.
And I just want to say hello to Terrier Tiberius Mork. Of course, you can find Terrier on the Phantasmagorium show. Terrier, a longtime member of the PGS, a very good friend. Terrier, how are you? Says Ziggy Stardust earrings for the win. So good to see you, Terrier. I hope you and your family are well. Also, special shout out to Irene, who's working on math with her kids right now. God bless you, Irene.
Oh my god.
And also, Mikey Lito, thank you, Mikey Lito, for saying, well, for one thing, it's fandom pipe dream that anybody buys Disney. However, it would never pass antitrust muster. Also, Disney is in a lot of businesses aside from movies and television. Okay, fair enough, Mikey Lito, and we're glad you shared that with us.
Wasn't there that controversy when AT&T, I think it was, were going to buy out Time Warner and stuff like that? I just think if they're throwing enough money at this stuff. But no, you're right. I mean, it is a big want of the fans. But I'm not saying you're wrong, Mikey. I'm not disagreeing with you. but why do these rumors keep coming up, and why is it the same two companies? Why is it Apple? Why is it Universal? You know, concerned with Disney and latterly Warner Brothers. It's always those two. Maybe it's just a self-fulfilling thing that, you know, internet grifters have heard it, and then they're just going to keep repeating it. I don't know. But yeah, no, you're likely right. It likely is a pipe dream, desperation,
And
because they don't want it to continue the way it is.
and I also think what would be interesting, and I'm gonna get to this. And Mikey Lito, you make a good point. Mikey Lito, keep telling us why, because it's an interesting discussion to have. My comment on it was that I thought that a lot of these studio producers own a lot of Apple content. Excuse me, shares, and they might be some of the major stockholders in Apple. So it might go back to our old time studio executives, not even executives, former directors who own a lot of Apple. Wouldn't it be funny if it fell back in the hands, if Lucasfilm, let's say specifically, or Disney, or whatever part they sell off, fell back into the hands of some of the directors who were involved in it in the first place. So that was my roundabout funniness about it. Bonzo Kilborn, you're talking about the Patterson cut. I believe that's the one. And I met him. I met Patterson at the LA Comic Con in 2022 and talked to him about this Obi-Wan fan cut that just took everybody by storm. I loved it. And yeah, there is potential in that. But it is something to think about. Bonzo says, I saw the Obi-Wan fan cut you recommended. It wasn't half bad. Still didn't like the Luke Warren, no pun intended, Obi-Wan, but they did the best with what they had. Yeah. Yeah, Bonzo. It was an improvement over the I'm gonna hide Leia under the jacket sequences, wasn't it? Certainly very interesting. And Russ, you have made a very good point in regards to the notion of what's going to happen with the Ahsoka Tano character, because she's kind of dead in the water.
Mm.
There's nothing going on with her. And the fact of the matter is that Ahsoka is perhaps the most intriguing character here, because she is kind of driving what's going on, but she's not saying anything. And I think for people who are watching this and are wondering, well, okay, this seems like a really nice story, there's a lot that's not being said under, between the lines. Ahsoka suddenly has this tension with Sabine, because apparently they've been training together. And you're right, Sabine is an incredible Mandalorian fighter. She's not weak. She's not the kind of girl who's going to be putting down her armor. She's got it right there. She was, I'm not even quite sure whether the notion of her having tension between her and Sabine was necessary. You didn't even have to do that. Sabine is so strong-willed that you wouldn't have to necessarily disclose his tension, because she's already disobeyed Ahsoka once in like the first 30 seconds of the story. So
Yeah.
it wasn't necessary to make it seem like, well, where have you been? And I'm like, she doesn't want to speak to you because you don't listen to her. Isn't that obvious? You don't listen to your own master. Of course, she's not going to be telling you where she is. You would go ahead and do something that might jeopardize her. It's not cool. That's why she's not telling you. A lot of deductive things about it, but they have kind of a very kind of nicey, sweet smile about it. And it's not so sweet. Like her behavior isn't necessarily the best, as you mentioned, ditching out on the ceremony, not having the decency and respect to tell people I can't make it because it's too painful for me to go, or I'm sick, or make up some freaking excuse. But you don't ditch people
It's,
like that, and you
it's
don't go ahead and put yourself in danger unnecessarily. Ahsoka never, and you probably mentioned this already, Russ, but Ahsoka was under attack by those death droids, and my thought was that she was going to tell her, if you didn't already say this, you can't do that because of the attack. But even so, Russ, it does kind of show that if she were her apprentice, would she listen to her anyway anymore?
Well, this is this is the thing, isn't it? She literally said, "Look, man, don't take the MacGuffin out of the ship. It's just not safe." Yeah, okay, all right. And then she comes back out, and Sabine's disappeared with it. It's not exactly, that's not a respectful thing to do. But I think, with this whole thing with the beginning of the show, like you were saying, it's a writer's device, isn't it? And they're desperate to show her as too almost literally in this case, too cool for school. But it fails because everybody watching it, just thinking, well, that's like a horrible thing to do, like, and you just and you're taken out of the show because the first act of the show is to show this girl boss doing her thing and being all cool with, as somebody pointed out in the chat there, with heavy metal music and all that sort of thing. I thought the music to the show by and large was pretty good. Um, but I'm instantly thinking, well, that's out of order. How long did it take Clancy Brown to organise that? What about all those senators that were there? What the hell's going on? Why would you do that? Yeah, and instantly I'm thinking about why would you do that as opposed to sort of like being engaged with the show. But look, it's not terrible, but it's not good, and I really wanted it to be good. I just
And
wanted it to be. I just wanted to come away from this like we came away from Andor, going, "Oh my God, Star Wars is back!" And this is much more mainstream and less niche and dark and grim than
Mhm.
Andor. And I was really hoping this was going to be the one that we'd have some hope. And even if all roads do lead to the sequels, at least we could have this, 3, 4, 5 year ride up to the Thrawn movie and all of that, and it would have been ace. But it's just not ace so far. And just looking at how it's been written and looking at the character archetypes that they're employing in this show, you can just see it's going to go. Or I I dread to think it's just going to go the same way as every other show has gone so far. That's my fear.
Well, and of course we are 2 episodes in. You and I both agree, Russ. We're just looking at the first 2 episodes. Rogue Thinker thinks that you and I should do a review of the HBO series Rome. We should, right, Russ? And then Spartacus, right?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Rome for so many years. I think the problem with Rome was the season 1 was so good and season 2 was so rushed. It was still good, but they had to sort of cram in all this stuff because they knew they weren't. And be a fair play to them for actually, going through with it and trying to get a whole story into a second season. But yes, season 1 of Rome was awesome, and yes, he was Titus Pullo in Rome. He was brilliant as that, and yeah, Spartacus, Blood and Sand. The first season's the best one as far as I'm concerned.
And Ray Stevenson, and I can't say enough about him. In fact, I could probably spend this next hour talking about Ray Stevenson, because I just, first of all, Ray Stevenson starred in I don't know whether it was the number one film, but one of the most popular films, if not the most popular Indian film in 2022, called RRR. It was a
Hmm.
film that exploded. This film got so much attention. It was a fantastic film. Indians make incredible cinema. So I'm going to put that out there. But this film, RRR, really struck a nerve with a lot of people. And Ray Stevenson was in it. He was one of the starring roles. He was a baddie. And he was great in that. But him as this force user, something, Russ, I'm feeling something that I don't always feel for every force user, but he's kind of hot. And I think, I wasn't expecting to see the sex appeal in this, but and I'm going to be very careful here, and I don't believe they're Sith users, but they are kind of dark side users. He's kind of seductive. Like, he has this very manly male strength about him. And of course, you get a little bit of Vader vibes, him coming down the hall here with the black cloak as he's, slicing up these completely defenseless and pointless people who are there just for show, right? But I am so enthralled with Ray Stevenson as this character. He's wonderful in this. He doesn't even have to talk, Russ. He doesn't have to talk. And he's absolutely compelling and just glorious and attractive, and just, I want to hang out with this man. This character is badass, Russ, and he hasn't even said really very much. How on earth is Ray Stevenson able to convey a character like this? It's remarkable what he's done, Russ. It's
Yeah,
remarkable.
it's because he's a brilliant actor, and he was not given much to do in that show. But it's it literally is the X factor, isn't it? Some people just have that magnetic presence. He's certainly one of them. Even if you saw him in Accident Man, every scene that he's in, and he's playing a pseudo comedy character in that one, he just dominates the screen. He's such a huge man anyway. But even see the problem. Yes, he was fantastic, and those two, I guess you would call them dark Jedi's, if not Sith, or maybe they're grey Jedi's or something like that, and that they're playing kind of both sides. I don't know. Um, they were certainly the best things in the show. But where's the jeopardy? Where's the threat? Like a million people are shooting at him with blasters, and you kind of already knew that he's blasters don't work if you've got a lightsaber anymore. The blaster bolts are automatically drawn towards the saber. It would seem now. So it's kind of it's so sanitized that the jeopardy's gone. I remember I was reminded of, when they're blocking their lightsaber blasts in this show, and I just kept thinking of that bit at the end of Revenge of the Sith. When the clone troopers turn on the Jedi, and you see, and they manage to block like 3 or 4 bolts, but then there's just too many soldiers, and they end up getting killed because they're not superhuman. They're well, they kind of are superhuman, but you know what I mean. They're not Superman. They can't defeat everything, but nowadays they can, and I think that that's probably the problem again, where Disney's innate philosophy backs all of these characters into a corner. Like, okay,
Mhm.
we know that Ray Stevenson can't be killed in episode 1 by a random blaster bolt. It's just to illustrate a point. But yeah, there's no jeopardy in this show whatsoever. Like I said, if they'd have killed off, like you said, if they'd have killed off Sabine Wren in episode 1, people will probably be hailing this. Yes, there would have been screams of outrage from big Sabine Wren fans. I get that, but that would have taken some balls. That would have set Ahsoka off on a complete, who's the show is named after. That would have given her some really meaty stuff to grapple with. And even if they weren't going to kill her off, they'd have her be in love with Ezra Bridger and have that be her driving force, and have her make those bad decisions that Ahsoka has to try and
Yeah,
um
I mean, it's
Ahsoka
no
has to try and temper her love for this person because she is going off piste all the time, and Ahsoka then can fulfill that mental run. Look, you can't keep doing it. No, but I love him. We got to do this. Yeah, and we'll get him back. But you keep making these stupid decisions. You nearly got me killed. There's conflict. That. There's not there. There is no
yeah, because
conflict.
if if Sabine is going to be like, damn the torpedoes, if she's going to be like, screw the world, I want her to be like, fuck Ahsoka, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, like.
Right.
And Ahsoka's like, why do I have to take care of this bitch? Like, that's what I want Ahsoka to be, and then, it could become very dynamic. And this is a kind of a dark picture, but of course it's Elsbeth with Ray Stevenson and the other character, as she's, you suddenly realize she's a Night Sister, and she's able to activate this wayfinder. And I thought of Zeb, who was another character who was in Rebels, along with Hera, and Zeb's entire people are hidden in an area of the galaxy that the Empire couldn't find. So my first thought was, well, I bet you it's on this damn wayfinder. Let's see, I'm
Mm.
right. Blazing Asian says Ray Stevenson equals Punisher Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Mike,
brilliant in The Punisher, when Ray Stevenson. It was really violent. That was like the
mhm.
most. There's just such a brilliant scene where he shoots someone in the head, and Colin Salmon is like playing opposite Stevenson, and his reaction to that scene is just it's a hell. If you haven't seen Punisher Warzone, buckle up, because it's so violent. It's awesome. It's just over the top. Everything he does is over the top, and Stevenson just gurns his way through the entire thing. It's such a
He
fun film. I actually
he
might
looks
watch it this
so,
evening.
yeah, he looks so damn good. And I think that sex appeal, that burst of sex appeal, is exactly what the doctor ordered. I wouldn't be surprised, I don't want to say anything too salacious or out of order, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I just, a lot of these, because he is a Jedi who left right at the end of the Clone Wars, around the same time Ahsoka left. And ironically, he has a line that says, well, I'm no Jedi, very similar to Ahsoka's comment. They may have a lot more in common. They might even know each other.
I would
So
be surprised if they didn't. We know they're going to fight because we've seen that. We've seen that, haven't we, in the
yes,
trailers?
but how well do they know each other, Russ? How well do they know
I
each other?
honestly, Aram, I just think you're barking up the wrong tree. I just don't
I
think
know.
in Disney Star Wars there is any room for any romantic relationships
Oh,
outside of same-sex relationships in Disney. I cannot see it happening.
or
Even in Star Wars proper, they had to destroy the relationship between Han Solo and Leia Organa. They had to. They couldn't have it. It couldn't stand. It was not allowed to stand. Can't have that. Can't have a main female character in love with a scoundrel. No. No,
And Darth Plato says Babylon Apprentice looks too much like Lana Beneko. Google image Lana. Well, thank you for that info. And Darth says he liked the maturity of Ahsoka compared to young Ahsoka from Clone Wars. What did you think about her maturity from Rebels? Has she changed much in there? Oh yes, and Brogu let us know that today is Fandango movie day for $4, guys, in select theaters. Go out and see movies for $4 today, guys. Go and enjoy that. Oh yes, Bonzo mentions that slight tangent. It's okay, Bonzo. Ray Stevens was in Blackbeard in the show Black Sails. He was so good. Oh my
he
god,
was awesome. Black Sails is such a great show, and it's, you know why it's such a great show, because it's got a beginning, middle, and end. Like they, Flocky and all that knew what they were doing when they were making that show. Like it had to finish. It was never going to be. I think it was 4 seasons, 3 or 4 seasons, and that was it. Beginning, middle, end, and everyone got their arc. It was so good. I loved it. I loved it.
yeah. And guys, we see you're talking about Andor versus Ahsoka, and remember, Ahsoka's not done yet. So things could change. It is true. I don't know if it's in the UK. I have no idea. It says it's a Fandango thing, guys. So if you look at Fandango, you'll notice Fandango is running it. And I think Fandango is international. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Blazing Asian, we still don't know though, do we? We haven't seen the rest of Ahsoka. Let's see what happens. Maybe you're right, Blazing Asian. And JH Edits is doing it. I'm taking advantage of it as well, seeing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for $4. JH Edits, come back and let us know what you thought of the film, okay? Darth Plato says another galaxy angle is weird. We're going to see the using. Yeah, maybe. Darth Plato, why not another galaxy? Remember, that was the whole point of Jeb being able to save his entire species from the Empire, because they were able to get into another area of the galaxy that the Empire could not. So I'm expecting to see Jeb's species. I can't remember what they are called, but he was the blue guy who we saw in The Mandalorian at the pilot depot. Jeb, who is amazing. So let's see what happens. Yeah, Mike Alito, really long freeways and a lot of sand. I don't like really long freeways. I don't like a lot of sand, but that's where he lived. And some people have criticized that maybe Filoni made it look too much like the last season of, let's say, Rebels. And that after 5 years, or how many years this might be, there could be some changes, and maybe we don't need to see exact copies, exact matches of everything that we saw in the animated series.
I disagree. I think, that stuff was put there for you. If you love that show, then that shit hasn't changed, right? That's literally Ezra's house right there.
Yeah,
And
I love how it looks. I love that it
okay,
looks exactly
can you
like it.
imagine if they decided, well, it's 5 years later and now it's become a little part of the suburbs and there'd been all houses around it? Now, me as a non-Rebels viewer wouldn't have known, but you as a fan of that would go, well, hold on, Ezra lives in the middle of nowhere. What are these? And instantly people would be all over it. So no, I think he's done like I said at the beginning, it's one of the greatest things about this show that I cannot appreciate is I'm sure that there is a ton of stuff that I don't know about, but it's in there for you. Stuff in the background, stuff on the wall, little pot plants, whatever it happens to be, the little cat, whatever it was. There must be shitloads of things in there for fans of that show to enjoy. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I absolutely want a loaf cat. I want a real loaf cat though. I don't want a stuffed, I guess a life-size loaf cat. It is the most adorable thing I've ever seen that they had in there. I wonder if this is the right one. That loaf cat is to die for. They did such a great job. The loaf cat might be my favorite alien creature in the story. I don't know how you guys feel, but he looks so adorable. I'm trying to flip to him because I am not my normal self today, guys. I don't even know how my eyelids are open. But certainly Russ and
While you
I
did that,
are.
let me get this comment here from Nathan
Yes,
Trujillo.
please.
He says Ahsoka has a lot of boring girl bosses that need an injection of testosterone. Characters in Rebels had personality; they were cardboard cutters in Ahsoka. Yeah, well, this is what we've been talking about all along, and I think it's an endemic problem. I just I don't know how you fix it unless you have a complete rethink about how you tell stories in that universe, and that is it's problematic and people are over it. I mean, who doesn't love a good girl boss? Everybody does, but it's just too much. It's just too much. And as I've said, the way that these characters, the way that they write them, makes them unlikable from the get-go. You're not rooting for Sabine. Sabine was the most egregious example of somebody in this show. I don't know if it needs. Yeah, maybe it does need some more male characters, but it just look, I know when you saw the captain of the ship right at the beginning of Ahsoka, the middle-aged white guy, you just knew. You just knew that he was incompetent. You just knew that he was an arrogant dickhead.
He was
You just
drunk,
knew
yeah.
that he was going to get everybody killed. And of course, you just knew it. You just, oh look, middle-aged white guy, instant incompetence. Why do they have to keep doing that? Why? Why do they have? But so there's no suspense there. We talk about suspense and stakes. Disney has become such a parody of itself. You see the middle-aged white man, you know he's an idiot, you know he's corrupt, you know he's weak, you know he's rubbish in a fight, and guess what? He is. If that had been a person of color or a woman commander that had made that mistake, well, I wouldn't have seen it coming because it's Disney. But I know Disney and I know Star Wars and I know, yeah, dickhead, instant dickhead, and that's the problem. It's an endemic problem, and they need to fix it, or they're gonna keep getting this kind of criticism where shows that they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on are at best mid, and if they're excellent, nobody seems to watch them. So yeah, I hear
And
you.
immediately everybody compared to Qui-Gon Jinn's very similar situation. You couldn't help but compare it to that. Certainly, there's no excuse. To be honest with you guys, I feel the exact same way. There is absolutely no excuse as to what they did here. Um, I say at the very least, if she wasn't going to be killed by this, then make her be in recovery for the next 6 months.
But then, why is she still alive? Like
I don't know.
the Grey Jedi stabs her in the stomach, looks at her, and then runs away. No, if you're gonna fight someone with a lightsaber, the idea is to finish it. Why didn't you just cut her head off? As soon as she went down on her knees, the saber's gone. That's it. That's the end of Sabine Wren. Why didn't we do that? Why? Why would you spare her? You wouldn't. Especially as you know that a lightsaber to the guts now no longer works. You have to, chop people up into small pieces to be effective. Ugh, I don't know, but it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. I got through it. It was really slow. There was lots about it I didn't like, but on the whole, it's like I just feel that I don't know how much Filoni believes in this nonsense because it almost seems like he's aware of it. To have the character turn around and go, "Look, I was out of order. I was a real dickhead, wasn't I?" And then he knows that she can't be. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, guys, don't forget I am going to be talking with Lorraine Creole on Monday about Ahsoka as well. We'll get her insights. Certainly, there's a lot to talk about, a lot of different opinions, and certainly it is interesting. I need no man, and yet, I'm going to his old apartment and jerking off to his picture every week. Think about it. At least that's how I look at it, guys. Why would drones self-destruct when they could destroy the orb and map they wanted to find? Good question. Nathan, I have no idea. I don't know how she could fight off a droid. There's a lot of very odd things
Yeah, but
about
why
it.
did the droids tell Ahsoka that they would get, self-destruct activated in T minus 15 minutes to give you enough time to run away from this? It's just choices like that. And as they said, what was the point of them having a self-destruct? That's going to blow the thing up, and that instantly means Inosanto's plan is literally now dust in the wind. Now we've destroyed the thing. They can find the thing that for the bloke who doesn't want to be found. Oh shit! The robots just blew it up because they self-destructed. Oh, okay. Well, at the end. Yeah.
And you're right, Russ. And Darth Plato says, "Oh, was she a Darthamir in season 2 episode, or are they saying this now?" Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Darth Plato. They definitely should have said. Ahsoka should have said she's a Darthamirian witch who serves Thrawn. That's what should have been said, and that would have given us some context as to the danger that this was in. They would have never been able to keep her captive in that corny ship. It's absolutely, and yes, she is the goddaughter of Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Her dad's
And
a guy called Danny Inosanto, and he was one of Bruce Lee's top students. So if you watch the restored cut of Game of Death, is a 40-minute cut of the last three or four fights in Game of Death, because Golden Harvest released Game of Death as like a sort of cash-in job, and it was horrendously censored. But Inocento's in that playing a Filipino or Indonesian Arnis and Silat expert, and he has an epic nunchucker fight with Bruce Lee. It's really, really good. And of course, Diane, and was brought up in that environment. She's an excellent martial artist. Yeah.
Oh god, I can't wait to see what they do with her. If they do it, if they decide to do anything with her. Blazing Asian. So glad you're here, Blazing Asian. Says, side note, Enter the Dragon 4 is out on 4K now. Thank you
Hmm.
so much. Now, Retro Nerd Girl says, I had a problem with Sabine in the first episode too. It's so confusing, right, Retro Nerd Girl? This is not the Sabine we know. Sabine would be doing something, but I don't think she would be acting this way at this point after everything that's happened. Just some little subtle things could change. I think her attitude towards that ceremony, she could even have said, you know what? I can't be at the ceremony. I'm sorry, guys. Or show up and be sad and keeping, she could have said, I'm just grateful that everybody's here and we what is it called when you miss somebody? Like we miss the ones that are lost. She could have said something very kind of like stoic or whatever, pine after those that are lost. We're still hoping that they're alive somewhere and look up to the sky or some shit like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would have
or even have her do the thing and sort of wave at the crowd, and then she just sort of like storms off at the end, and Clancy Brown says to her, like, "Fucking hell, where are you going?" And she said, like, "It's all just a parade to you, isn't it? We lost people. You know, we don't need to keep bringing this up. The war was a long time ago, and I'm done being your poster girl for your re-election."
yeah, that would have been
Something
good.
like right, something like that. Therefore, okay, fine. But there's
And
none of
then
that. It's just this like, oh, she's too cool. No, she's not. She's an arsehole, is what she
now
is.
she is pining after him, even though they don't want her to pine. I would have liked to seen some tears where she's like, why the hell is this happening? Why is my life like this? You
Well,
know,
because our romance, we've been discussing this whole thing that because of their paradigm, no female character can be shown to have any weakness or any vulnerability whatsoever. And her pining after Ezra, desperately in love with him, would be perceived as a weakness and subservient to a man and his particular needs. And it cannot happen. And that is just such the wrong message to say about people who love each other. It is such the wrong message to be putting out there. But it's me ranting on about it on a live stream. There are far more eloquent ranters out there than myself that have spoken about this ad nauseam, and it ain't gonna change.
and and to be honest with you, I found Ezra, he wasn't quite like uh Ahsoka, because Ahsoka was kind of she. It's true she was a little pain in the butt, but she was cute. She was adorable when she was young. She was
Mm.
like this cute little girl, and you almost thought to yourself, "Gee, this is kind of hard for a little girl to have to deal with." This level of what they were expecting for her as a Jedi. And Ezra was equally cute, um, but he immediately, once he met Sabine, you knew. That's why I'm so skeptical about the friend zone thing. You knew he liked her.
Well, hey, look, let's hope that this is all casting dispersions on the show, and that is actually what is going on. Wouldn't that be brilliant if it's actually no? This show is about two people who love each other, and yes, it's called Ahsoka, but really the heart of the show is Sabine, the romance between Sabine and Ezra.
Oh yes, it's exactly what we need, as Darth Plato says in my in Robert's own word. We need more fucking. We do.
Yes.
I said it there. I said it on daytime TV. Bring on the romance. I want it to be hot and steamy and messy and just like the craziest thing you've ever seen. Yeah. Louis Libitz is here. Hi, Louis. How are
Hey, Lewis.
you? Hope you are well today. RM Unfiltered. But you know something? I'm just building off of the signs and the messages they sent us in the previous shows. I'm not making this up. I couldn't make, well, yeah, I could make it up, but I'm not making it up. This is what the show implied. There was some deep connection between the two of them, something running between the two of them, like this connection. I know connections in shows. And just like we all know that there was supposed to be a connection between Ray and Finn, There's definitely some kind of connection here going on between her and Ezra as she looks at his picture every day before bed, every night before her bedside, Russ. She looks
Mm.
at his picture um so sweetly. Um all right. Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. Thank you, Rogue Thinker. It's a beautiful thing, guys. Now, I did also want to mention uh something about, you guys are making me laugh. Bonzo says she's too cute to take seriously. She is cute. She's too, but that girl is a very talented martial artist. I wish you guys would watch her in the follow-up to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's a badass martial artist. So she is cute, but she can really, as far as I'm concerned, she's fantastic. Um and also what I was going to say is uh I can't remember. I'm losing my train of thought here. Um, Russ, you and I were looking at this show and trying to figure out um, the notion of why is it that when they had in their hands this special machine which is supposed to allow them to do deep space travel, which if gotten into the wrong hands could kill millions of people, why they
Oh
weren't why
God,
they
that
weren't willing to
thing.
just sacrifice it to kill the people in the port. Why?
Well, because the plot needs to happen, and if you think about that whole sequence, that they just turned up just at the right moment. Like what are the odds? What are the odds when that'll be happening? And the one thing I was struck by, I've seen Star Wars, the first one, and in Docking Bay 94, the Imperial stormtroopers turn up and they try and stop Han Solo, Luke, and everybody leaving in the Millennium Falcon. And they get into the Millennium Falcon and they take off. And about 10 seconds later, they're out in space. Same thing happens on Hoth. They're out in the atmosphere in mere moments. Let us say 30 seconds tops, maybe 60 seconds if you want, but not in this particular instance where it takes like 45 minutes for a ship to breach the atmosphere and all of that. And why is only one person going after this ship? Where are their security protocols? How is this allowed to, how is this allowed to happen? Okay, well, the boss guy is working with the Empire. Yeah, but sure, when he's been caught red-handed by a general and a Jedi, is he really go, oh, launch fighters, look, they're trying to steal our thing? I mean, you're talking about collateral damage here. And he could just turn around and go, well, look, how often is it we're going to get a Jedi and a general turning up? I mean, all right, okay, it went wrong this time. But as far as they're concerned, we stopped what was going on. We still got the hyperdrive system. We just send it out on the next one when this lot of pissed off. Why? Because the plot needs to happen. And he has to, as a man, has to be shown to be corrupt and ultimately incompetent, as all men are in Disney Star Wars. Apart from Ray Stevenson, we can hope.
Yeah, and I do want to touch on what Retro Nerd Girl is talking about. She mentions the second episode was better to me, but I don't feel the sentimentality for the show as some others have feel. I certainly don't feel the way I felt about Rebels and the Clone Wars as I feel about the first two episodes of Ahsoka. Like I don't have that drive where I'm like I have to see what happens. I almost wonder, Russ, and you and I talked about this. I felt like these first two episodes could have been just one episode. It could have
Absolutely.
been,
It was a
and just make it.
snail's pace, and I felt really bad because I was really hungover yesterday, and I was watching it, the first one, thinking, "Oh, fucking how long?" And I kept pressing the little button to see how long the bar was. I was just thinking, it's because you're hungover. Like, come on, give it a chance, give it a chance, give it a chance. But then all the reviews I read afterwards, everyone's going, "God, it goes at a snail's pace. You're bored. There's lots of walking and talking and staring, and not a lot going on." And it's not like it's not as though it's the show don't tell method here that they're using. They're just like standing around doing nothing. Um, Not great.
No, it's not, and I think I almost kind of get an impression. I think I know what he was going for here, and I want to get your opinion. Retro Nerd Girl chime in as well. When it comes about the sentimentality for the show, I think what's interesting is that we needed an update on Ahsoka because we've been seeing her in one show and another show, but this show is her show. And I want to know what she's feeling deep inside. And I'm going to explain why. There's a book called Ahsoka, a book.
Hmm.
And I have the book. I have the audiobook. I've listened to it about a bazillion times. And in the book, Ahsoka talks about how she feels and different things that's going on in her life. And there's a story, and she helps people in the story, and it's a good book. But I think that what's interesting about it is that we know exactly what's going on in Ahsoka's mind. And I couldn't read her here. I felt and attached to Ahsoka. We have no sentimentality for the show because we don't know what she's thinking. What do you guys think?
Um, well, we touched on it earlier on. The only way they know how to write strong female lead is stoic, and don't say anything, and pause before you say anything that you do say in order to give it gravitas. I've no idea. Actually, I don't know much about Ahsoka Tano, the character, myself, other than what I've picked up in the little bits of lore that I've heard and studied. And I know that she was Vader's apprentice, and I know that that show was dearly loved and all the rest of it. But as to her now, what, in her 30s or 40s or however old she's supposed to be in this show, I don't know. And certainly this show didn't tell me anything about that particular character. I think we know far more about General Hera and Sabine Wren than we do about Ahsoka. And as I said right back at the beginning of the show, or about half an hour or 40 minutes into the show, we haven't even spoken about the person that the show's named after yet. Yeah, it was all about Sabine Wren and all about Ray Stevenson's character Balin, and all about, but no one's mentioned Ahsoka at all. That's not great either.
It's not great. And Russ, you and I were talking about I Claudius yesterday.
We were, yeah. Funnily enough, nice one, Bonzo. Bonzo's gone, actually. I saw that he had to leave, so sorry to see you go, Bonzo. If you catch this on catch up, we love you, man.
We do. We were talking about I Claudius. So certainly we're in the same. For some reason, there's this feeling, the same feeling we've been
Romans
talking
are in the zeitgeist.
about. Yes,
They're coming back. We're done with fantasy. Bring back the Romans.
absolutely. But yeah, thank you, Mikey Lito says I couldn't agree more. I was completely drawn to Ray Stevenson and his character. I couldn't take my eyes off him. Mikey Lito, you have no idea what I was thinking when I saw. Well, maybe you
I think
do.
we've got a pretty good idea, RM. To be fair,
He
to be
looks
fair.
amazing. I think he was the perfect man. Let's
Yeah,
say
I agree, but I hope he
wonderful.
doesn't get cucked. Right? That's, you see, this is the thing about how they do that. You can just imagine what they're going to do to this character down the road, or I can certainly imagine what they're going to do. And you're going to find out that he's not what he says he is, and he's actually that's and this is so wrong, because I should be excited. I want to be excited, but already I'm just looking at him thinking, well, how is he going to get cucked? Look, he's a white bloke and he's old. He can't be everything he is. He's going to
He's
have some sort.
he's old.
Yeah,
Sure.
and he's my age, isn't he? So he's a little bit older than me, so I'm old. Um, so and that's, like I said at the beginning, who was playing the captain? Was it Mark Rolston? Because it bloody well looked like him. I forgot to look it up. Who was the captain of this ship? But as soon as the show opened and I saw the middle-aged white man in charge, you just knew incompetent, arrogant fool is going to get them into trouble, and that is not great. But it's Disney, and you know that no guy that looks and sounds and talks like me is going to be any good at anything. That's probably true in real life, but I'd like it not to be true in Star Wars. At least once. Like, come on, like, can Ray Stevenson not be this badass who actually wins at the end, or gets away with it, or at least lives to fight another day and doesn't get completely humiliated like I fear he's going to?
Well, one thing I can say is that the first episode is called Master and Apprentice, and we do get to see two masters and two apprentices, technically speaking. The Ray
Mhm.
Stevenson character, who's a master to that young Padawan, and of course, Ahsoka Tano, who is apparently going to be again the master to Sabine. And so that was true. That actually happened. It was master and apprentice. Understood. I get that. The next episode was called Toil and Trouble, and certainly it didn't necessarily feel like it was new trouble or anything like that. It was something that was already existing, so you weren't introduced to anything new. Hellspeth was already a problem. So it wasn't a new introduction. It was sort of business as usual. So that wasn't necessarily a surprise. It's not a spoiler. It doesn't feel like a spoiler because it's not a spoiler, because it's the same problem they had in the Mandalorian episode. So we already knew about it. That wasn't a surprise there. But I don't know what the next episode title is called, or what the next few episodes titles are called. And that's something that I'm curious about, as to whether or not those the title. Number 3 is called, does it have a title yet? I'm looking at IMDb and I don't see a title yet. It's probably somewhere. Somebody probably has it. But the point is, that I'm wondering if it's going to actually give us something relatively new, which we haven't necessarily seen yet. We haven't gotten that new. Yes, we do have new characters, but I mean, in regards to the plot and what's going on, we knew Hellspeth was up to something bad already. So that wasn't a surprise. You know, we knew she was working with Thrawn. We knew that Ahsoka was going to see Thrawn in the last series before Ahsoka. So this is, you know, we haven't discovered anything new necessarily.
Yeah, but
Um,
this will all tie into what Moff Gideon's doing and those Imperial commanders that we saw at the end of Mandalorian season 3, right? You know, this is Thrawn is in charge of those guys. I think they even mention him, don't they?
yes, and Tom says, "I wonder if they'll bring Zeb." Yeah, I'm hoping they bring Zeb into this. I don't know if they're going to bring Zeb.
Was Zeb on the picture on the wall of all of
No,
them
yes,
standing
yes,
together?
he
Yeah,
was.
right. Okay. Well,
Yes.
then yes, you're going to see him. They can't
Okay.
they can't foreshadow stuff like that and then not do well they can, but I doubt if they will. And he's part of the gang, right? And this is, you know, this is Filoni's big thing. This is all his characters. I mean, I can't imagine he'd write his own character out of it. So I'm sure you'll see Zeb.
I'm just going to pull up a picture of him. For some reason, I thought he was green, guys. It's so awful. I can't remember what color the character is. So I apologize. This is Zeb right there.
Hmm.
And he's an alien. And his species, I thought they were green. Maybe I'm wrong. His species, fortunately, were spared from being extinct in the Empire because they were able to hide in some other part of the galaxy that was not easily able to get to. And that to me rings what must be on this Wayfinder.
Mm.
How to get to his. I could be wrong, guys,
No, I think
but
that's the prevailing theory, isn't it? You know, everybody's sort of saying that now. Well, we could be wrong, but I don't think you are. Put it that way.
and I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson for the super chat, the $5 super chat. Gee, thank you, Tom, for your generosity. Guys, as you know, Tom is a member of the Burnettwork. He is a longtime friend. He's a collaborator and also moderator here. Makes a lot of my thumbnails, gives me a lot of information as well, and a great friend. Tom Jr. Jackson also has his own YouTube channel. For the $5 super chat, thank you, Tom. Says, I see you were in relax mode this morning, but yet looking super stunning as well. And Russ, I'm always glad to see you, my friend.
Always good to see you too, Tom. You
What
are a
kind
legend.
words. Thank you, Tom. I so appreciate it. Makes such a huge difference here in so many ways. Just such a great friend. Thank you, Tom, for everything. As always, I so appreciate it. It's great to have you here talking and sharing and talking about different things that we love, guys. So thank you, Tom, for everything you do. We so appreciate you. Um, and also, guys, want to mention Thalia has some comments. Thalia says, I like the first 2 episodes, shed some light on the characters, especially for the non rebel viewers. Yes, now that is very important, Thalia. There's a lot of people who have not watched Rebels or the Clone Wars or any other Star Wars for that matter. They're interested in Ahsoka. Ahsoka is so popular, Russ, that people who haven't watched Star Wars are watching it. Just like very similarly, how Grogu pulled in a lot of viewers, people who only watched The Mandalorian because they liked Grogu. How many people do you think are watching this? Maybe Russ, who only had only heard of Ahsoka and are intrigued by this character and are watching it just now, coming into Star Wars. What do you think?
Who knows? Because you know they did a massive marketing push on this, and I think you know to pick up on what Thalia is saying there, you know, um, there's enough in you know you kind of get what's happened, you get what's going on if you pay attention to the show. It's obviously these people have got a past together, and yeah, it's been a bit fractious in the case of Sabine and Ahsoka, even though apparently it wasn't really that fractious. But in the time intervening between this and the Rebels, it has become. So I get it, and you know I'm coming to it kind of cold. They did enough, but as I said, what I can't praise it highly enough for is the amount of layering and textures of Easter eggs and all this stuff that they've put in there. If you don't, like I said at the beginning, if you know, and it's awesome, and if you don't know, it doesn't affect you. But I think you know at least Filoni's showing them the love there.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point that you make, Thalia, and something to think about because that's going to happen. And certainly, I'm happy that that's happening. I certainly love that first of all, it's Rosario Dawson. So we love her as Russ. I think all of us love Rosario Dawson. She's an incredible actress. Recently, my favorite role that she was in was a miniseries called Dope Sick,
Hmm.
where she played an investigator. Maybe she might have been federal or, state or local or whatever, who investigated the meth and no, the Oxycontin scandal, excuse me. The Oxycontin scandal. Um, she was wonderful in this. And, she'd be wonderful in anything, but I loved her as the investigator, doing everything she could to try to break this case. Um, she's absolutely remarkable. My favorite role of hers, however, is in Sin City, Russ.
Oh yeah,
I like her in Sin City.
me too.
I love that role. I think she was phenomenal in that, guys. That's my favorite. But she was also good in Dopesick, as well as many, many other films and productions. So it is great that we're seeing that. And thank you, Thalia, for mentioning that. It's so important for us to see your comments like that going forward. Where is it? Okay, now I know where I am. Okay. Um, and also, Joe Tyson says, "I guess I have to watch Ahsoka now." If you
There's
want
no
to,
no need now, is there, Big Joe? We've told you basically everything that happened in the show. You can go watch it with our amazing insights. No,
and
you should.
Irene said so well. "'Tis a flesh wound."
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. It kind of feels like that, doesn't it, Irene? Really.
and Wex with her hi says, "Sleepy RM gets salty." Yes, I am a little salty. Wex with her, how are you? Hope you were well. Glad you were here. Yes, Darth Plato. I couldn't have said it any better. All of these guys are laughing all the way to the bank. How many little girls will be in Ahsoka cosplay this Halloween, Russ?
Don't know. It depends on how successful the show is. Will the cat that they've got be the sort of breakout star of the show? Like Grogu. No, I'm not. You laugh, but I mean that will sell
I
a lot of
love
plushies, won't
him.
it?
I
You
love
know.
him. That love cat was beautiful. And I think that the team that made him come alive did such a lovely job. His coloring, his cute little legs. What a little cutie. I just love him. Mario Lopez is here.
Hey, Mario.
Says, "I liked Ahsoka show, but the lightsaber wound in Sabine was stupid." Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid,
And it's a
guys.
meme now, isn't it? It's the getting stabbed in the tummy with a lightsaber is now literally memeable, and that's just not great. And as Dave Filoni, like a guy that is on top of all this, like, you should know it's a meme. Like, just don't do it. Don't do it. Have the girl pick her up with the force and sling her back into the wall and knock her out, or kill her off, as we were postulating at the beginning. But don't do the lightsaber in the tummy. It's just stupid. And now, of course, if they do the lightsaber in the tummy and somebody dies, there'll be screams of outrage because now we all know that a lightsaber in the tummy doesn't kill you.
Yeah, and there was also a meme for the comment about the friend zone with Ezra. Somebody made a meme and it had said where he says, "I always thought of you as sister." And I think they kissed each other a few times, by the way, in Rebels. But since we've already had brothers and sisters kissing in Star Wars anyway,
Hmm.
even though they did not know they were brother and sister, and that is very important. Um, but they did make a meme about that because there were so many people who were Rebels fans when they heard that he thought of her as sister. We were like, "What? No, no. You have been thinking about this woman forever. She's been thinking about you, So okay, I got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know,
Um,
but here's the thing: the fact that they put that in there. We were talking about before about retconning and changing things, and live action trumps everything else. So for me, and I could be completely wrong, and I kind of hope I'm completely wrong on this, but for me coming into it as a new person, well, I now know only that they're friends, and he loves her as much as she's like his own sister. That's what I know. That's what I've been told. So if there's a romance there, or there was supposed to be a romance in there, I think they're setting it up to say no, there isn't. These are friends. And for all of the reasons that we spoke about earlier on, I think that that's a mistake. That she should be madly in love with him, and that if that was driving the plot, I'd be so happy because it's something we all recognise. And as I said before, it makes all of her mistakes forgivable because she's just so desperate to get this guy back. But they won't do that. That'll be perceived weak.
And Retro Nurgle says Russ just came up with a better story for Sabine off the cuff.
Oh, thanks, Retro. Yeah, I think that was about, yeah, the sort of, I'm not here to sort of help support your elections anymore. I'm done with this or something like that. Yeah, but thank you.
Um, Mario Lopez says, "Why do they make female characters so unlikable?" Yeah,
Because I think that they think that they're aspirational. They're so tone fucking deaf these days, and they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again in the desperate hope that somehow our it's going to change. It's the literal definition of insanity, like writing the same character and giving her a different coat of paint and a different name, and then running with that same character over and over and over again. And guess what? Nobody likes it because they're not real. We can't connect to people who aren't real. That's kind of the point. You know, all right, they're fictional characters, but they need to feel like real people, and they never do. They just never do. As we were saying at the beginning, if you rewind and watch the beginning, Mario, you'll see we discussed that at length. And I don't want to repeat the whole thing, basically.
yeah. And Nathan says, "I thought Ezra's hologram saying he saw her as a sister was hilarious." It shut her down big time. It really it shocked me. That's why I'm like, it was definitely memeable. Darth Plato says, "Are they going to talk about Hera's kid that she had with Kanan?" I thought, where is he? Is he with Luke? Where is this kid? Where did you put him, Hera? Because she's not there, and Hera has that empty nest syndrome. The family's not together. Does that mean that the kid is going to suddenly appear? You know, it's not easy to have a kid on the road while you're doing all this fighting. Um, Retro Nurgle says the only character that they developed really was Sabine, and it looks like it is turning out to be her show. Ahsoka feels so dry in this. I totally agree. We don't know what she's thinking. Yeah, it's like, what's going on? It's so weird, right? Oh yes. It is. He's saying it is Mark Rolston, the commander
Yeah,
on the
that's Drake from Aliens. Badass Drake from Aliens, and here he is now. Because you can't have any heroes anymore.
And then Mario Lopez says, "Who's the Inquisitor guy?" Everybody's speculating as to who he is. But what I can tell you is they sure did a good product placement with his lightsaber, which didn't sell very well in the Obi-Wan series last year. But maybe this year that lightsaber might suddenly appear as
Cynical AF. Cynical as all Fs. That was like, you pointed that out to me, and I was like, you know what, you are 1,000% right. And that is, like the bloke says in Mad Max, that's low. That's really fucking low.
it's too much of a coincidence, guys. I mean, you know, we're one of the few generations that have grown up with product placement where if they could, you know, put as many product placements in a movie, TV, wherever, in your toys, whatever it is, we got it ad nauseum. But no one can convince me that that isn't maybe one of the most slick product placements I've seen in a while. Let's see if suddenly it appears back on Hasbro HasLab's option as a saber for purchase, because it looked cool when he was throwing that lightsaber around, and maybe people are willing to throw $500 on it this
Is
time.
that a he or a she, though? It looks very slight for a he. It might be another lady boss. We shall
People were
see.
saying it might be what's the name of the girl? Is it Barris Ati?
Barasofi?
Yeah, it might be her.
Probably Reaver. No, if you take the mark off and it's Reaver, that'd be awesome.
If it was Barris, I think I would be like, "Oh my god!" And then I would be freaking out. It'd be amazing.
But it could
Um,
be Reaver, couldn't it? Because you'd be the right age, right? Because it takes
mhm.
place, so it literally could be her. That'd be hilarious. They should totally do that. I'd commend them if they brought her back with her saber. That'd be quite fun.
And Mario says the show would have been better if she had died. That would have been terrifyingly cool.
Yeah, we spoke about
Um,
that again at the beginning, Mario. If you catch it, because I saw you came in a little bit later. So yeah, and literally that's what we were saying. There's no jeopardy. There's no jeopardy anymore.
Yes, and Ahsoka was in Rebels. That's right. So, Darth Plato, what did you think about Ahsoka in Rebels versus Ahsoka right now? Are they similar? I mean, is she similar? Is she different? I feel like the Ahsoka in Rebels shared more about what was going on in her mind. Of course, as we already mentioned, that was the World Between Worlds Ahsoka as well. So yeah, she is. See, Mario says it's one of his favorite Star Wars characters. She's a huge favorite. She might. She has the potential to revitalize Star Wars. She does the way the
She does,
Mandalorian
but
does.
if it's good, it has to be good. It doesn't matter how great she was as a character. If this is not good, it won't go anywhere. It will just disappear into the drain of Star Wars sludge that's currently occupied by Mando season 3 and Obi-Wan or whatever, and they're not good. They need to be good. That's what they need. If you do it good, people will like it. That's the bottom line. People are still hailing Andor. People are still going on about how good that show was.
Yes, they are. And, I think a lot of people who even may not have been their cup of tea certainly are not saying that it's garbage or anything like that. Mario says all the girls were great in Sin
Like,
City.
you make a good point. You don't have to like something to realize that it's good.
Mhm.
That's like, okay, it's not the Star Wars that I like, but Andor was good regardless of whether it was good Star Wars or that you liked it. You can't come and go, that was garbage. It was not garbage. But when you look at something like Obi-Wan, as much as you might want to like it, it was crap, and everybody recognized that it was crap, and there's no defending it. So I think you can be objective about certain things like that. I'm trying to think of a film that I didn't like. Batman, The Dark Knight, uh, the second Batman. Like, everyone says that's the greatest superhero movie of all time, and I thought it was crap. I thought it was either an hour too short or an hour too long. I have no idea what they thought they were doing with that film. I recognise that it's a really good film, but I didn't connect with me at all. I thought it was rubbish, but I know I'm wrong. There you go.
Yeah, and Mario, I had to pull up Rosario's picture because she's my favorite in the film. Yes, all the ladies were great. I thought she was even classy in this, Russ.
Hmm.
Considering, you're walking around in lingerie or whatever the hell they're walking around in.
But unless you're
Um,
Eva Green, and then you don't walk around in anything at all.
Yes. And I thought, that was not easy to pull off, but she pulled it off like the star that she is. And Mario, you are right. All the girls are great in Sin City, Mario. Just sharing a little love there. Of Rosario there. And Mario goes, poor Qui-Gon. A lot of people are comparing it to Qui-Gon's situation, and rightfully so.
Well, like we said, it's a meme. It is a meme. I don't know what he was thinking. Like, you saw her get stabbed, and you just thought she's not going to die. He just knew it. He just knew that she was going to be fine. It's like we were talking about, like the middle-aged white man. You see him, and you know he's going to be an incompetent buffoon. You just know it. So there's no sense of discovery, or shock, or there's no suspense. Okay, look, white guy, idiot, obviously. Yeah, he's going to let them on. Oh, look, and he's dead. And the same. Oh, she's been stabbed in the tummy. No, no chance. She's going to be fine.
And so I wanted to answer this question for Mikey Lito, who so kindly asked a muggle question. That thing on Ahsoka's head, is it biological, organic, or is it a headdress? It is biological. It's her Leiku, and it is a part of her physical body. And there are many aliens in Star Wars that have Leiku. These head tails are Leiku. Here they are. You can see her wearing them. And it is a very sensitive part of her body. So it's actually part of her body. And here they describe it as, does it say? Sorry for all the advertisements, guys. She is known as Chigrudo, but Hera, who is the green lady, she also has Leiku, but hers are different shape. And because she's a different thing. And it says they're pointed horns um, with montrails on the top, and it is part of her body. It turns out that the Leiku make her very sensitive to what's going on around her in nature. So although she looks like, although you can't tell, they're very sensitive. And here's one of an much older Tegrudo, same species as Ahsoka Tano. I can't remember her name. You guys know her name. She was killed during Order 66, but I can't remember that woman's name. She was on the Jedi Council, I think. Was she on the Jedi Council, guys? Anyway, yeah, they're called Leku, and they are special parts of their body. Twi'leks also have Leku, but theirs are shaped differently. You've seen Hera, who's the green Twi'lek lady in the show. She has different Leku than Ahsoka Tano. So I pulled up a picture. I could have told you that verbally because I knew the answer, but I wanted to show a picture so you could see some other examples of aliens in Star Wars that have Leku. Hope that answers your question, Mikey Lito. And Russ, we are getting to the end of the show. I can't believe that we have been on this long. This is interesting.
You said it was only going to
Russ,
be a half-an-hour show today.
I know, right? Hi, Dr. Sleep. Hi. Says Russ, a female character having an attraction connection to a male character, not in Disney Star Wars.
No, again, Dr. Sleep, we spoke about that at the beginning. If you rewind, we really went into this in depth, so I don't want to say the same points over and over again, you know.
And Wex says, "Oh, Reva survived a saber plunge.
She did, yeah, and so did the Grand Inquisitor. So maybe it's not just a girl thing."
Oh my goodness gracious. It is something to think about. And Stubble says, speaking of product placement, in Demolition Man, they filmed different scenes for the European and the US market. In Europe, they were eating at Pizza Hut. In the US, they were seen eating at Taco Bell.
Thank you for that.
And stabbed in the gut, just walk it off. Walk it off. Walk it off.
It was the best stab wound ever. It was the greatest lightsaber.
Shake it off. Yeah. Shake it off. Shake it off. 6K. Hey, hi. Oh my gosh. It's so good to see you, 6 Scale Cantina. So wonderful to see you this morning. Guys, wow, such a pleasure to see you. Says RM and Russ. Miss seeing you guys live. Stopped by to say hi. Love the latest in the Mandoverse, and the Ahsoka series is riveting, baby. So good to see you.
Hello
Hope
there,
you are
6
well. Certainly a pleasure, guys. As you know, 6 Scale Cantina has his own YouTube channel called the 6 Scale Cantina. He's an expert on looking at 1/6 scale figures, but so much more. Guys, do check out 6 Scale Cantina's YouTube channel, and you won't be disappointed. I've watched so many episodes of your show, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. So guys, please do check out 6 Scale Cantina. So good to see you. Thank you for stopping by today. It's such a pleasure to see you. And also, Darkwing Duck is here, and Darkwing Duck just told me what the name of that other Tigrudo was. It's Shakti. I forgot that was her name, Shakti. She was unfortunately killed, I think, during Order 66. So unfortunately, she did not, make it. But Shakti is another Tigrudo who we see a lot in the Clone Wars, and her entrails have gotten very large. They get very big. The men's this is gonna sound funny. The men's Leku get huge, Russ. They get huge. They get enormous. Yeah, they get enormous. But the Leku actually help them to interpret what's going on around them in nature. And
does that make them a little bit more force sensitive then, does it?
It does. And certainly it is very interesting. Yes, it's Aries. Thank you, Thalia. I don't know why I couldn't remember your name, Aries. Thank you, Thalia. It's Aries it's his channel, 6 Scale Cantina. Hi, Aries. Good to see you. Hey, I hope you and your family are well, Aries, and I hope you have a safe and fun holiday week, guys. We are not going to be on the air next week. We're going to be back on the September 10th for the next Sunday brunch. We're taking a week off. Guys, I hope you all are well. Aries, it's always a pleasure to see you. Darkwing Duck, nice to see you. Hope you are well. Hope everybody is well who was here today. So many great comments. And just honestly,
I have a question actually. I'd be interested to hear, Eileen, what you thought of those books that I sent. I would really like to get your opinion on that. So if you find time, do let me know.
Absolutely. And of course, 6 Scale Cantina, Aries, you have the Hot Toys Wizard who gives us predictions about what Hot Toys we're going to be having. And of course, looks like we're getting Hot Toys of Ahsoka. Still waiting for some Andor hot toys, 6 scale cantina. Would be great if we could get those. But Aries, it's always a pleasure to see you. Wex Luther says the sequel should have been Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order. Yeah.
It just goes
Yep.
back to your point, though, doesn't it? Like he's a bloke. He's a white bloke. He can't. He's a failure. He is a failure at life. Right. That's the message. That is the message. And so therefore, that was never going to happen.
And Stubble says, I heard on good authority that RM prefers Order 69 to Order 66. Yes. And we haven't gotten to Order 69 yet, but Stubble, when we do, we certainly are going to
I'm
talk about
sure
it.
there's a film that must have that in there, a sort of a film of an adult nature. I'm sure that because they did make adult Star Wars parodies, didn't they? They had Pirates of the Caribbean and superhero ones. So I'm sure there must be a Star Wars one that will see to all of your order needs.
And guys, don't forget to subscribe to the 6 scale cantina. Irene, please let us know what you thought of the Gladiatrix series. Guys, remember to check out Russ's Gladiatrix series on his Amazon webpage. And also you can check out Russ here anytime on my channel here in Positive Fandom. Guys, thank you so much, everybody who is here today. It's such a great show seeing you all. Thank you for the support. Yes, you take care of yourself too, Retro Nerd Girl. You have a great week, my dear. Always a pleasure to see you as well.
I have one thing to say
Yes,
before we go.
yes,
Darth
yes.
Plato, it's just the hallway. Hang on. It's just where the
And
front
you
door
have
is.
and you have your answer. Thank you, everybody, for coming. That's an order that will be happening soon, because you know that apparently the Emperor has thought of everything, even 69, Wex Luther. It is the hallway between worlds. Certainly that. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Of course, thank you once again, Tom Jr. Jackson, for the super chat. Thank you, Tom. It's so kind of you guys. A very important member of the Burnettwork, a friend, collaborator. We are all goof people, Tom. We are all goof people. And guys, remember, we will be back on September 10th for Sunday brunch. That's in 2 weeks. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend, your holiday weekend, guys. Russ, it's such a pleasure to have you here as always.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
See you later, guys. Thank you.